All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Makercast. This is a live stream that happens once a month with rotating cool makers in the community. And I am hosting it today. I am Lee Cyborg, and I have my co-host here, David Groom. If you want to just introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm David Groom, more commonly known online as iShotJR. I'm an editor at Make Magazine, and I mostly use Mastodon when I use any kind of social media, which I'm iShotJR at chaos.social, maybe another @ sign on the beginning there. And yeah, I'm just here to hang out and co-host with Lee and talk to these rad makers we've lined up.
Yeah, awesome. We'll just go around and everyone can give themselves a little introduction. You can just say like who you are, what we might know you from, and I don't know what you're excited about. I guess Andy, you want to go first?
All right. Hey y'all, I'm Andy. I'm coming here from Panama right now. This is our little part of our little laboratory in the jungle. We'll talk later about making little moth boxes. So yeah, that's what we're up to. Hey, howdy.
Awesome. And Thea, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Thea. I am a creative technologist and open source person. You might know me for my mini crimes. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta, and I make all kinds of things, but especially music instruments and trouble. That's my specialties.
Amazing. And Charlene?
Hi, I'm Charlene Gonda. I like to describe myself as a coder by sunlight, maker by moonlight. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. And I'm coming to you live from Alameda, California, which is a small city right across from San Francisco. And I'm in my workshop, and I'm going to talk about some fun stuff, I guess.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited. Just before we went live, we were chatting about the dangerous lipo batteries we all have lying around. So if anyone out there in our viewership has dangerous lipo batteries, I mean, just know that you're not alone, I guess.
We want to hear about the most dangerous ones. We were all talking about all the flammable stuff that we keep ours next to. Who's got the most flammable LiPo storage solution?
I've got one that's pretty bad, maybe. So I heard that here we don't have battery recycling really in Panama, and they just encase the batteries in concrete and hope that, in the future we can figure out something to do with it. And so I have this big plastic injection molder machine of like recycled plastic, and I can make these big blocks of plastic. And I'm like, I'll just put batteries in there. And so then I can dump hot plastic over it. And I was doing this for like 5 or 6 of these blocks. And I'm like, oh, maybe hot melted plastic isn't a safe thing to put over the battery. But they didn't blow up yet. So,
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was already worried when like with the mention of concrete. I was like, I feel like concrete heats up. Like that's
Exactly. Yeah. And then also, like, it took me a weird long time to be like, concrete is not melted plastic. They're not synonymous.
They feel like, from an outsider, like if I don't think about it too much, they do feel like they're kind of the same. You can pour them over batteries if you melt them,
It's a goo, then it gets hard. Same thing, right? Come on.
Yeah.
Playing with a LiPo like a fidget spinner over here. It's fine, I'm sure.
Oh man.
I mean, the problem is like I get them in like swag bags for events. Like someone will, like a kit will have like a lipo battery, and then I get back from the con and just like throw the swag bag somewhere, and then I have these little spicy pillows waiting for some day.
See, I don't even have a bunch of small ones. I have a bunch of big ones from laptops, and it's like, if this starts a fire, it's going to be a fire. Like, if I die in a house fire, just know that it's completely my fault. Okay.
Watching the comments, Chipperdoodle says they got 9 harvested 18650 cells just sitting right in front of me on my desk. So it's a theme across our viewership.
Hey, at least they can see them, right? So if anything, if they start getting swirly, they're right there.
See, I put them in this metal box because I don't want to see them become more puffy. until I can figure out how to get rid of them.
Do you have the box, Charlene? Because that'd be a good plug for upcoming event if you do.
That's very true. This is the box. This is my danger box. It just so happens to be the lunch box that you might get. Well, I got it last year at Teardown, which is happening again this year. So if you have not yet checked that out, you definitely should. It is filled with fun talks, fun workshops, fun people. It's amazing.
But Charlene, where can we find Teardown in the world?
Yes, it's in Portland.
I don't know if we need like a URL.
Or URL, yeah.
Panama.
Checking the Craft Supplies website, you could find it pretty easily. I don't know how to like add a URL to anything here, but
that's Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Portland,
Good question.
Oregon.
Portland,
Oh my
Oregon.
God.
Important to think.
Yeah.
We'll add it to the show notes. We have show notes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wait. I'm gonna send it in this chat. There it is.
The hipster Portland, not the scary Stephen King Portland.
While we're plugging events, the Open Hardware Summit is happening in May 3rd and 4th in Montreal, where I am. So it should be warm by then. So don't let that scare you. Oh yeah. Oh, I haven't got mine actually in print yet because I moved and it was the wrong address, so I haven't seen it. So it's so beautiful to see.
You were the first person to see it, so I feel like you're. If anyone's not going to see it, I feel like you at least know what's going on, so it should be okay.
It's true. I did put it together with the help of Sid, so I feel like I know what's going on. But it's different when you like feel it.
Yeah, of course. I feel like we should plug the keynote as well.
Oh yeah. So our keynote speaker is Danielle Boyer. I'm actually not 100% sure if that's how they pronounce their name.
It's just Boyer, but either way.
Okay, yeah. Well, where I live, it is French, and it would be
right.
Danielle.
Yeah.
However, Danielle pronounces their last name, Boyer or Boyer. Mm-hmm. They are an amazing Indigenous maker, and they are going to be the keynote, and I'm so excited. What's their website? The Steam Connection?
The STEM Connection, I think.
Steam
Connection.
Steam Connection. Sorry. Keep that art in there.
We'll add that to the show notes too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not as exciting as Danielle, but I'll also be speaking. And
True.
I promise that I will write my talk before I get there.
I mean, but if you didn't, keep it casual. It's all good.
Well, we got some people in the comments saying Danielle is rad. We got Ubi saying that as a European, he prefers the French version that you usually. So maybe we'll just go with that.
Cool.
And also, James Sharman says, I have trust issues when it comes to Canadians talking about temperature.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but that's very legitimate because I say it shouldn't be snowing, but it may be snowing. It shouldn't be. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I feel like that's an extremely fair comment.
Yeah, I'm from Atlanta. Your definition of cold is very different from my definition of cold, right?
It was literally like +4 last night, and I went out with some friends, and we were like, it's so warm out. It's +4 and raining. So nice.
No idea what that means. It's 58 here. So
in freedom units, that's 39 degrees, okay?
Yeah. Thank you for translating.
Oh, and did we mention when it is?
It's May 3rd and 4th, so it's a 2-day event.
Is that May 3rd American or May 3rd?
Hold on, let me convert that 3 days Canadian to 3 days American.
Metric, so you divide it by, what is it? No, it's a leap year, so you have to divide it by.
There's no way to know if we'll be in the same place at the same time. But what's exciting this year is we heard the feedback from last year where people wanted to do absolutely everything, which I also wanted to do. So the first day is only talks and demos, and then the second day is only workshops and discussions. So you can have it all.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Also, one of my favorite things about this year's event is that the hotels are a lot cheaper and the flights are a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Because it turns out having an event in Manhattan is expensive.
tell you what, though,
I can't lie to you guys. It was a huge reason. I was like, this is unreasonable.
Yeah, next year maybe I can convince y'all to have it in Atlanta, where everything is even more cheap.
Oh
that
yeah.
sounds awesome. I go to that. Leave your flipper at home though if you come to Open Hardware Summit though, because they're a contraband in Canada now. So.
Oh, are they? I
What?
didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
because people use
Oh.
them. No,
No.
people are using them to steal cars in Canada, so now they're
Oh,
illegal.
wow.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I already own one. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I already
A
own
car
one.
or
Okay.
a flipper?
A car.
Cool flex, Lee. Just so we know, if you get swatted, is there a way for me to like take over hosting duties?
I'll just give you host permissions now.
If the RMP come in, like, how do I? Yeah.
What Leah's saying is that they've already stolen a car with
I've
their.
already downloaded a car.
It's already done. It's already done.
Allegedly.
Car.
Yeah, allegedly.
There's no way to tell which came first.
All right, Kate. Should we get rolling on this? I feel like honestly we could chat for hours, but we might as well just kick it off. So I sent you guys a couple of questions, but just like to keep in mind, I actually felt like I do this for when I teach, like before we do like critique, I give my students a list of questions. So I gave you guys the same list of questions. Say things you like about the thing that you're doing. But yeah, again, I feel anyone can jump in at any point. Does anyone want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to take a little tour of the recent jewelry that I've made. I've kind of been obsessed with making like glowy jewelry. I mean, that's been a while, so it's not like a recent obsession really. But there's a couple that I'm very excited about. So quickly show you this thing. It looks like a sphere, and it is a sphere, but what I like about it is that it changes, the quality of light changes depending on the angle that you're looking at it. So if you're looking at it straight on like this, it looks really solid. Hold on, wait, where's the center of my camera? There it is. And then, but if you're looking at it, I broke it! No. I can fix it. There we go. I fixed it again. So yeah, if you're looking at it straight on, it's like solid. But if you look at it this way, it's like not as solid. So I thought that was kind of a cool quality of it. So that's one. And
I just want to say that someone in the chat said if you call it an orb, you can properly ponder it, and that really speaks to me. I love the orb.
I'm glad. Okay.
Oh yeah, that orb is like unreal. Like the colors on it, I saw it on Instagram and I was just like, yes, more orb.
Yay! Yes, I am quite happy with how that turned out. Very simple, but I love it when simple things happen well. Okay, so this is the next one that I've been really excited about. This is a weird looking contraption, but I promise it's kind of jewelry.
Is it a weapon?
Yeah, maybe.
It's like brass knuckles.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put a little battery there, a little cover, so you can see there's like a little LED. But the magic happens when I wear it and I put the other battery on. So there's this guy, and then I'm gonna put this on. There it is.
Oh my god. What?
So it's like a little kinetic ring. It's the first sort of kinetic wearable sculpture that I've ever made. And I'm kind of loving it. Let's see if I can make this camera focus better.
Yo, that is so cool.
I have no idea that's what's going to happen. That's brilliant. People are freaking out in the comments. So pretty. It's so beautiful. Is that a knuckle buster? It's a fingerprint. These are knuckles.
And I can show it like here in this camera too, a little bit easier.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
I've never seen anything like this.
That is
this
unreal.
a worldwide exclusive right now? Is this the first time people are seeing this?
No, so I posted it on Instagram as well. So if you want like slightly more details, go check it out. Somebody will.
I saw it on Insta. What was your Insta?
Oh, it's at Charlene, Chardane. But yeah, I loved how this turned out. It looks like there's a fireball like hovering over my fingers. I don't know. It's very strange, but I love it.
Question from the comments: what's the little motor that you're using?
Yeah, so it is a pager motor from. I actually don't know like what kind of motor this is, but it's a little 3-volt motor that Adafruit sells, and it is usually in. Well, I don't know if I can kind of show you here, but there we go. There we go, like that. What?
Oh, your
There we
camera's
go.
freaking out. There we go.
I know it's freaking out. But you can see it's like that center one, and all it is connected to this coin cell. And actually, I don't know why I'm doing this. I can just use this guy. Yeah, and I have always wanted to use this little 3-volt motor for something. And this was kind of what I came up with. That's my ugly soldering job in the back. But yeah, it's kind of like encased in this brass thing. So I think I actually have, I have the bear motor here. Ha!
It's vibrating away.
Oh my god, it's trying to escape.
Oh no! Yeah, I think the battery is probably going to die eventually, but so far, so good. Yeah, so it looks like this little motor.
Okay.
Oh my god, it is moving by itself. It became sentient. Okay, great. This is how you know it's live. All right. But yeah, you can buy this on Adafruit. It's like $2 or something. And it's
What
kind
did
of
you use
amazing.
to connect the LED to the motor? Like what's happening? What am I looking at?
Yeah. So the LED itself is sort of powered separately. I always have trouble taking this battery out, so give me one sec. There we go. Okay. So this is a little LED, like color changing LED, and it's stuck to this battery holder. So I have a separate battery on it, and then so the LED is really not connected to the motor at all. It's just connected to sort of like the tip of it. I laser cut a little interface to press fit onto these gears because it's so tiny. There was no way that I was going to be able to 3D print with my current FDM setup. So I decided to just laser cut something and then press fit it. And then I used some glue to connect this little battery holder to that interface.
So there's no microcontroller. It's just the LED changing by itself.
Yes. So it's like the color changing LED will change no matter what I do to it, as long as it
I was
has.
wondering how it was connected to something while it was spinning, but the answer is it isn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So all I did was put like a little button on top because it looks prettier and it's like magnetically attached. Because it looks prettier when it's spinning and it's gold.
Did you have trouble? So I've used a couple of those motors for other random things, and sometimes I have trouble like it can't spin as heavy weight as I want it to when I start adding enclosures on it. Did you run into that problem?
A little bit, yeah, because I was trying to be a little bit more like clever with the rotating like mechanism, like the thing that I was rotating. But I ended up, I couldn't really figure out, like there was nothing in my prototypes that I was super happy about. And this was light enough that it could spin really fast. But I've actually found that sometimes if I put something heavy on it, it spins slower. And that is a little bit more aesthetically pleasing too, you know? So the sort of the persistence of vision that you get with this fast spinning is really cool. But I feel like if I were to make something else with like, I don't know, double helix brass pieces or something, that might be cool if it was slower. But yeah.
Folks in the comments are asking when the POV text display version is coming.
Yes.
That's going to be V10. Watch out. 10 years.
But one thing I always love about your stuff is it's so simple and clever. Like I haven't seen like a lot of your jewelry doesn't even have microcontrollers. It's just like super clever use of LEDs.
Yeah. and I feel like it's kind of been like a comfort make for me, you know, to like make something that doesn't require code, because I code during the day already. So I'm like, I want to make I want to be able to make something that doesn't have to require like a microcontroller. And I think the last piece of jewelry that I went, well, I don't know if it's the last one. I feel like I can go all day here. But I've also been playing around with Viking knit. If y'all have heard of Viking knit. And this is one of the pieces that I've made. Well, the only piece that I've made. It has a little LED filament in it. And yeah, this is one of those other things where it's like, oh, it's very simple. I just stuck an LED filament in some metal wire that I weaved into this hollow chain, but I kind of love how it turned out.
So cool. What is Viking knit? You want to tell us a bit more?
Oh yeah.
Chainmail?
Sorry.
Is it chainmail?
I don't know what the relationship is between Viking knit and chainmail, but maybe. So it's this method of weaving a metal wire such that it forms this hollow chain. And you kind of like hand knit it through like on top of a dowel, essentially, like you wrap it around a dowel. And it's a very sort of simple, there we go. I don't know if I can make it more. There we go. Yeah, so you can kind of see that it's sort of just looped around. So it's very easy to try. And this is the first one that I've made. So I'm very, very excited to sort of like try it a little bit more. Yeah.
So cool.
Gorgeous.
And then, okay, last thing, I promise. This
I mean, you could keep showing us stuff like
I figured I'd just do like a quick tour of everything. Okay, so this is one of the latest things that I've made as well. Have y'all seen? There's a YouTube channel called Mixtella, and this person created a bar earring with these specific battery part. So this thing is from sort of an off-the-shelf earring that you can buy. Do I have a sample of it? Oh man, I'm not that prepared apparently. But it's very cool. It has like very tiny batteries in it. And the case is the positive and the top is the negative. So you can see, let's see if this will work. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, so you can see like a little wire sticking out of this brass tube, and that is what makes the connection. So I'm gonna scroll back out. There we go. What? Oh, it's giving up on me. Okay, here we go.
no.
There you
All
go.
right. And yeah, if I tighten this, it doesn't light up. Oh! Okay, apparently it died. That sucks. Well, it's like an edge-lit ginkgo leaf, which actually, doesn't look too bad.
It still looks really cool not lit up. Like
Without-
I've seen it lit up, but it's also very
Yeah.
cool not lit up.
Yeah. And it was just kind of like this experiment on if I can make something that has like a really small battery source, because usually, like something like this, I have something in the back, like a really big battery in the back, which is not uncomfortable, but I was very excited to have like a really tiny battery pack that I can sort of incorporate into the design. And this is not the most practical ring to wear, but who cares? It's form over function is sometimes fun.
It's fashion. It doesn't have to be practical.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're pushing the envelope of what's considered wearable.
Yes, that's right. I feel like I definitely inspired by a lot of like sort of jewelry makers that sort of just push the boundaries of like what what being a ring, what a ring can be. So this is sort of like my attempt to do that.
And your stuff has very like runway fashion vibes, you know, like like it doesn't have to be like everyday wearable, it just has to look dope.
That's right. Yeah. The thing that I've been doing recently, or the thing that I feel like I've been trying recently, is being casually glowy. You know, like you should be able to just wear LEDs when you're in the office or in school or something. So that's kind of like, this is like one example of that. But sometimes you got to be loud. You know, you can't just be subtle all the time.
Love it.
And not to like put you in the spot too much, but like I know you use a bunch of cool tools to get those like shapes so smooth and nice. Do you have any of those just to like show people how you get them so like clean?
I do. Okay, I'm gonna go off frame for 1 sec, and then I can show you one of my favorites. So this is the usual thing. I guess I can go back here. This is the usual sort of like a very common circle bending pliers that you can find, but they also come in these big ones. And these are kind of fun. I guess there's 3 sizes, 20, 16, and 13. And these are my favorite to use when I'm trying to make bends. So that's how I definitely made this bend with that. And
those are awesome.
What would you search for to find this tool? Like, what would you type in to get?
Oh yeah, search for circle bending pliers. Actually, if you search for the beadsmith ones, I think they have a bunch of sizes.
Awesome.
But yeah, I got these on Amazon, so very easy to find. Okay, I feel like I've been talking a lot, but
I mean, it's just so cool because I feel like you know, every time I try to do like you know, like those like dead bug circuits or whatever, I'm like, I'm gonna be so meticulous and it's gonna be awesome, and it's just impossible without those tools. And then I see you show up with like these super smooth bends, and I'm like, how did she do it?
The right tools.
Yeah, I couldn't do anything like a circuit sculpture. It would just come out looking like an absolute disaster. Like the solder points would be beautiful. Everything else would look awful.
And just call it abstract. It's abstract.
Yeah. It's an
You'd be
expressionist
surprised.
piece. Okay, but super cool. I like, yeah, if anyone who you want to just plug your Instagram again because it's pretty next level.
Oh yeah. So it's Chardane, Chardane. And I also have a website. It's called charlene.codes. So my name, Charlyn, and then .codes, codes. It originally was supposed to be about code stuff, but I mean, it has some code in there, mostly CircuitPython.
Super cool. All right, yeah, let's move on to guest number 2. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I just had a question.
Yeah.
Do you know like Carl Bugage's like work? He made,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking like you should totally get him to get you some of those little circuit board PCB motors, because then you could be flapping jewelry, all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Guys. Oh. Yeah. Carl's level of engineering is aspirational for me.
Yeah, I did a couple of I used Carl's the flex motor to make some inductive powered rings like maybe last year or something. Which was really fun, but it was also kind of weird because like I had like, I don't know, I tried a few different arrangements. I ended up with it like around my neck, but just because of like, you know, science and technology, it only really turned on the ring when I like really put my hand right next to so it was like kind of awkward, but like I don't know, the concept was there. I feel like with your ability to make things cool and functional, you could take that concept and
oh my goodness. That I am pretty sure I have seen your post about that, and it's in the back of the brain always.
I was like literally thinking of you when I was like trying to cram the circuit into this necklace. I was like, Charlene would know. But I just put tape on it and moved on. I was like, I don't know.
I feel the pain. I think this is why, recently I have started to sort of get more serious about learning like how to put stuff in a PCB, because at this point, like the limit is like how small the controllers are, and they don't come very small unless you like make them custom. So that's the current hope, is to sort of aspire to that.
Yeah, it would be super cool to see like a PCB like physically in like the construct of the jewelry, you know. That would be dope.
Yes. And it's really, then it becomes like the battery. The battery is always sort of like the chunkiest thing. But I feel like that like I can get to that level. Like if that's my problem, then
it's a good place to be.
Good place to be.
Cool. Any other questions? Anything from the comments?
Just a lot of praise and accolades as far as I can see from the recent comments.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we'll move on. We'll move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Who would like to go?
I can go.
Sure.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so nothing that I have is as cool as what Charlene had.
That is untrue. Absolutely untrue.
True, yes.
But okay, so the first thing I want to show y'all is my favorite thing that I've seen this month. So here's the deal. We launched a new product like at the beginning of February, right?
Wait. Before you say we launched a new product, you want to
Sure.
tell us
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
Okay. Like, what is product?
I make dumb little synthesizers, okay? Like I make little modules that people string together into one big module. So it's like a synthesizer to make noises, but instead of just buying a synthesizer and having something that makes noises, you buy all these little pieces like Lego and put them together. It's for people with a lot of money and free time, basically. It's a niche of a niche, and there's a lot of really cool smaller manufacturers. We have a lot of fun. But so I released a new one. It's this thing in the middle. It's called Neptune. It's beautiful. I love it. It's completely open source because everything that I do as Winter Bloom, my company, is open source. And the coolest thing happened the other day where someone on Instagram tagged us with this. And this is a completely self-built Neptune. And it's so convincing that like me and Maggie, the other person in Winterbloom, did a double take. And like just like the way that they did all the labels and everything is just so good. It's so good. I'm just like, this is why I make things open source. Like, you guys ruled. This is awesome.
Amazing.
Yes, amazing, right? Like, oh, that was so cool. Again, like ours, theirs, perfect.
Very convincing.
Yeah, the only thing that we don't open source or like don't put in the open source files is like the actual design on the faceplate. So we open source the faceplate itself and like the whole pattern and everything, but just for trademark reasons, we don't put our logo and all that stuff out there on those. But yeah, so it was nice to see someone go through the trouble of actually making a really nice faceplate for theirs. And yeah, like they had to do all of this themselves. Like this is all the surface mount assembly on the back of it. It's a lot. So
intense.
Yeah, I think it's about 120 components or something. So yeah.
I have to say, I am such a huge fan of your art and like all of these modules because they are so mind-blowingly beautiful, and
They are.
they're like functional pieces of art, you know, like somebody makes music out of this, and I bet like it adds to the inspiration, because like if your instrument is beautiful, then it like makes you want to create more art, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To me, the whole point of making physical instruments, because we live in like this golden age of software instruments, right? Like you can download Ableton Live and a bunch of VSTs and you can have any sound you want, but it's all on a computer. So the whole point of having a physical interface to something is to give you that tactile, you know, real experience with something. So that makes me very happy to hear. And it is very fun making them beautiful.
Do you have any beautiful PCB arts you could show us right now?
Not nearby, but I can show y'all some other fun stuff. I do have some other fun stuff I can show you. It was actually funny. So for this one, this is actually a collaboration between myself and a friend of mine. And, you know, he designed the original circuit and he had a working prototype when he approached me. And it had 2 LEDs on it. And I said, that's not going to do. This final one has 20, I think. It's either 18 or 20. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was like, no. We got to add a whole lot.
LEDs spin around really quick.
So the big ring is it actually reflects what the audio that's going through the thing is. So if you send it some really like gnarly audio, it'll like ripple back and forth, which is really cool looking.
Oh my God.
The whole idea behind the LED light rings around the knobs and stuff was to evoke Neptune's rings, which is really cool to me. So.
And what does that module do? What is the what?
So it's a filter. And if you're completely unfamiliar with audio stuff, like a filter is like what makes dubstep. Like it's the wall. Like it basically like cuts off frequencies from a sound source so that it like kind of makes it sound different. It's a very much a shaping sort of thing. So it's a filter. It's a weird filter. It's made by abusing diodes. So everybody thinks of a diode as like this magic component where current flows in one direction and then doesn't flow in the other. But that's not true. Okay, that's a lie made by Big Diode. What diodes really are is magic. So there is a threshold basically between like the diode has nothing flowing through it in the forward direction and the diode has everything flowing through it in the forward direction, right? There's a small window of voltage between those 2 points where the diode acts linearly as a voltage controlled resistor. So depending on the tiny variance in voltage that you give the diode, it will conduct a very certain amount of current. So what we do here is we stack 8 of those on top of each other, and we use basically a voltage mirror to like send a specific voltage to both ends of it to control it as a big voltage controlled resistor. And because we are abusing silicon here, it is a weird filter. It does not behave in any normal way that you would expect it to. It can sound super gnarly, like it will add distortion and just weird stuff to your sound. I mean, this is a piece of musical equipment that has a knob on it labeled salt. Okay, like that's what we're working with here.
I mean, isn't that what makes it so great? Because
absolutely.
Like, it's generative art ?
Yeah, exactly. It's art that makes other art, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the guy that handmade his, I actually just finished hand assembling a prototype of the next revision of this. So this was our first run. We found a small issue with it because, as it turns out, TL072s and 074s, which are pretty popular op amps for anyone doing audio, they actually can have a significant voltage offset. And in most cases, it's not a problem because a lot of people are using them for audio, so they AC couple them. But we're silly, so we made an audio thing that's DC coupled. And so we got bit by about probably about 10% of our units having too much of a voltage offset. And that required us to swap out the op amps on those to fix that, because it's just like, it's just an inherent behavior of the op amp. So we just have to find a different one that's spec better. So this is our second revision, and I hand assembled 5 of these. Oh. And I am so tired and my back hurts so much. But yeah, it seems to be working great, which is awesome.
Christian had a question in the comments. Does every one of them sound the same? If you're like abusing the components, does that mean that they react differently, or? So
we do everything that we can to make them sound the same. But the thing that doesn't work the same across all of them is the specific cut-off frequency behavior at a specific voltage. So like for one, you might be able to send it 5 volts and the cutoff will be like 2000 kilohertz or something. But for another one, you might have to send it 4.5 volts to get it to 2 kilohertz, right? So that's what kind of varies a bit between them. But we try very hard to pick components that have very little variance between batches so that we can have a very consistent sort of sound across each one. And someone also asked if they change as they age and wear. As far as I know, they shouldn't change as they age, but they do change under temperature. So while they warm up in the first like 5-10 minutes of you turning on your machine, like that'll be pretty interesting. And speaking of variants, we include a test report with every single one of them that shows how it behaves under different circumstances. So
we've got a modular nerd in the audience apparently who's asking, can it track 1 volt an octave?
Kind of, a little bit, mostly, kind of.
Just add more salt, right? Just add more salt if you want it to.
Yeah, like if you're looking for super frequency accuracy, this is not your filter. This is the gnarly cousin. Like this is the member of the family that nobody wants to talk to. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it sounds like, it's like kind of like intuitive, artistic, like you're getting this like individual kind of painting from. That's super cool. I love it.
Yeah. The temperature variance thing was really funny because during testing, when we were trying to figure out the offset voltage thing, I actually took a can of compressed air and sprayed it on the thing to see which parts were temperature dependent. And we determined that there are parts of it that are temperature dependent, but not the parts that matter. But yeah, so the printed report, which is super cool. The thing that makes these is another project I'm working on. So we have this wild reusable test fixture that we use to test all of our stuff before we send it out. So we take the little circuit board and we stick it in this thing, and then we pull it down. It has like a lever with a bunch of pogo pins on it that helps us test everything. And we have a bunch of different boards that we send out, so we need to be able to test multiple products. So that's actually powered by a motherboard that we use across all of them. So there's one motherboard and it has like interchangeable, like kind of like Arduino shields that go on top of them for each product. And this is the new motherboard that I'm working on. And it's been a lot of fun redesigning this and then testing it. It has it has 16 discrete 16-bit voltage outputs with a range of plus or minus 10 volts, which is a little bit ridiculous. And it also has 16 discrete analog inputs as well, and a whole bunch of digital I/O.
What's the name?
So it's called Hubble. We call it Hubble because it, we use it to look at our stuff. And the little shields, the product specific shields that we have, are called lenses. So, yeah. And it's got a little Hubble illustration on the back of it.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
I got one more thing to show y'all.
I feel like there could be an entire Makercast like episode just about people's test fixtures.
Dude, people ask me all the time about our test fixture, and it's open source. You can go and look at Hubble's source and stuff like that. but it's so like specific to our needs, and I'm like, I don't think anybody else is going to be like getting any use out of this, but it is neat. The last thing that I have to show that I'm working on is I'm working on a guitar buffer pedal. So for those of y'all not in the guitar world, guitarists use these things called pedals, and they're kind of like the modules that I just showed you for synthesizers to like make their guitars sound different ways. And so, you know, you have to like chain them together. And one of the problems with that is that guitars are generally passive electronically. They're magnets that pick up vibrations, essentially. So we're talking about a very low impedance signal with a very low voltage swing. So like plus or minus 100 to 200 millivolts. And if you put any load on that, it's gonna drop really fast, and it's gonna suck all your tone out. It's called tone suck when that happens. So what a buffer does is exactly what it says. It takes the guitar signal and buffers it using an op amp or some other kind of amp. And then it allows that signal to travel through the rest of your chain of effects all the way to your amplifier without any signal degradation. So a very useful piece of equipment to have. This one doesn't have a switch to turn it on and off, so I named it coupling constant. After the quantum phenomena, but also because I thought it was really funny that it doesn't have an on-off switch. And yeah, this is actually a board with some of the chunkiest components I've worked with in a long time. These are all 0805 stuff. So yeah, but it's just 2 op amps in a single package. So it's one dual op amp, and then it has an interesting power supply that uses a charge pump to both multiply voltage and invert it. So it takes a 9-volt input and produces plus or minus 17 volts for the op amp. And it is possibly the worst way to do it, but it works extremely well for this very specific application.
I mean, it's like all of your things are to solve extremely specific problems that music nerds are having. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically it.
But and I feel like if that is your very specific problem, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
What I've been looking for my entire life.
What's funny is that there are plenty of buffer pedals. I could have just bought one, right? But because I'm like, I'm an audio person, I can make one. I spent, 2 months and probably like $50-$60 making my own.
Couple questions from the comments. How fast can Hubble update the output voltage?
That is a good question. So these DACs are SPI DACs, so they have an absurd communication rate. I think they can go up to 5 megahertz or something like that. What is the actual update rate? Hold on, I somehow got sent to Analog Devices' Japanese website. And my Japanese is not very good anymore. Let's see. God, how fast are you? I think it's in the kilohertz range. It's fast.
We can find it out and put it in the comments. We got a couple more questions too. Is the power switched on by the jack, or is it really on all the time?
Is the power switched on by the jack, or is it really on all the time? I'm not sure how to answer that question. I guess maybe they're asking if it's battery power. Does it do anything? Or is it jack switched when you have the input in? But no, it really is on all the time. It's just that when nothing is plugged in, that's pulled to ground through like a 10 mega ohm resistor or something.
Couple more nerd questions if you're up for it.
Oh yeah, I love these questions.
Okay. Is that an LT1054CP? Those things are great.
LT1054CP. That is a mouthful. I think it's similar. It's actually a microchip part. I don't know which one it is off the top of my head. It is.
We can figure it out.
It's very similar to that. Actually, I think it's so. This looks much fancier than what I used. So what I used is not explicitly supposed to be used for this. It's supposed to be used either for voltage multiplication or for voltage inversion. It's not really supposed to be used for both at the same time.
Kind of a theme emerging. Last question.
Yes.
If you need such a high voltage dual supply, is it a requirement of the op amp?
So this is the topic of great debate. Okay, so this strikes at the heart of this design. Okay, so audiophiles are perhaps some of the wildest people that I've ever interacted with. Okay, they will argue day and night about the difference between a gold-plated plug and just a silver-plated plug. Okay, like truly baffling stuff. Anyways, so you could make this using just the 9-volt supply that you have and a single supply op amp, and then bias everything to 4.5 volts so that you have swing, up and above, right? You could do that. That's fine. There's a lot of buffer pedals out there that do exactly that, and they sound fine. Okay, but because I'm a silly person, the idea behind doing this is that it allows you to use dual supply op amps. So that's one thing that's very nice. And generally, dual supply op amps have better audio performance across the board. So although these days there are single supply audio op amps that are fine, but historically that's not been the case. The other thing is that by having a much larger supply voltage, you allow the op amp to use its full slew rate capacity. So with a lower like supply voltage, if your slew rate is 6 volts per whatever, like if your op amp doesn't have enough voltage to do that swing, it won't actually ever achieve 6 volts per microsecond or whatever. So the idea is that by giving it this massive, more or less plus or minus 17 volt range, it lets the slew rate go all the way up, which should, in theory, give a more faithful reproduction of the input signal and reduce phase margin. Whether or not that's actually true in practice, I don't know. I don't even have the equipment to measure that and tell you. Like, it seems to work fine, and it didn't cost a lot of money. So, cool.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I feel like the theme is you can break the rules as long as you know exactly what the rules were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, like that's like the theme of musical instruments, right? Like, like an electrical guitar is essentially like this, like it's built from the stuff that you would find in like a radio engineer's just like repair shop in like the 60s, right? They just shoved that into a guitar body and said, wow, that kind of makes some sounds. That's interesting. Let's go with that. And then like synthesizers are a whole other thing, man. Like that's just been abusing electronics since the beginning. Okay. Like
that's incredible. That reminds me of I went to a car museum recently. It's called the Peterson Automotive Museum or something like that. And in the beginning they had a history section, and basically they were saying that the first cars were just made by people tinkering with motors in their garage. And they were like, what if I can make a thing that I can ride?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so funny to see like analog computers and some of the resources and documentation and books and stuff written about those, where it's like it's very much geared towards high performance and getting accurate results out of your analog computations. And then you see the same types of circuits adapted for use in synthesizers and things like that, because ultimately that's what a synthesizer is an analog computer. And or at least an analog synthesizer is an analog computer. And it's so funny to see all the shortcuts they take, where it's like, oh yeah, like you would have this temperature compensated if you were doing an actual analog computer. But here in synthesizer land, like, no, throw out like half the passives. We don't need them. And yeah, just kind of roll with it.
I love it. For art, man.
Is this is this pedal like for you personally? Like, is this a personal project that got out of hand, or is this going to be a winter bloom thing.
Okay, so everything that I do is a personal project that got out of hand. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, yeah. So this was very much just for me, but I'm gonna open source everything, and make some documentation around it. If there's any interest, I might offer circuit boards for it for people, because one of the things that I've started doing is that for a lot of our stuff at Winterbloom, we sell DIY kits, but all the surface mount stuff is already done for you. And it's not really practical for us to sell surface mount kits where people get all the little surface mount components from us, because it just takes so long and we're not good at kitting. And so I've been offering actual, just the bare circuit board and the faceplate for people, and giving them a comprehensive guide on how to self-source all the rest of it themselves. And that's a really detailed BOM with notes and substitution information and links to DigiKey, Mauser, and LCSC for all of that. And also, if they don't want to order the PCB from me, I also have a link to the Gerbers that they can just give to JLC or PCBWay, right? So I'm probably going to do a similar thing for this, where I'd make a complete self-sourcing guide for people where they can just go and grab everything they need.
I love that way of kitting, because I feel like the exact same kind of person who wants to surface mount solder 120 components is the same person who wants to go order them alone and figure that stuff out, So I feel like you're speaking to your audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, there are some people that just want to build something a little bit, have the satisfaction of putting something together, and the through-hole kits are great for them, right? You get this thing, it's got all the surface mount bits, it's been tested, you put all the little knobs and stuff on yourself, and you solder that, and you're good to go. But some people are like me, and they're absurd, and they want to just do it all from scratch. So, I like to enable those folks too.
Super cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing questions for Thea? Cool.
Well, where can we find out more about your stuff?
Yeah.
Would be the main thing that I think you should close with. Where can we find them?
Well, if you want to know more about my crimes, you can contact the U.S. Department of Justice. If you want to know more about my projects, you can visit me at thea.codes. That's thea.codes, just like Charlyn. I also used to be a programmer. I still am, but I used to be too. Yeah. And you can find links to all my other stuff there. You can find links to my Twitter and my GitHub, and I don't know, some other stuff that I'm on sometimes. Yeah. You can also find me at the Open Hardware Summit, because some silly people let me be the president of the board of directors. So I'll be there.
It's true. Some disclosure here that a good chunk of the OSHWA board of directors is on this.
We
call.
almost have a quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah. We almost have a quorum, right?
Yeah. We'll just have a little board meeting.
It's so funny because people are like, "Oh, congratulations! That's so nice that you're the president of the board." I'm like, I don't do anything.
By the way, quick plug, if anybody wants to donate about $50K to the Open Hardware Association, please do it. Let us know.
We would love that.
Not to be all quid pro quo, but I will write you a very nice thank you note. We can just add that to my list of crimes, okay? No worries. Any interesting stories of contributions back to Winterbloom from the community? Okay, that's a really good question. Like merging pull requests and stuff. So that is a really good question because it's not in the way that you would expect, right? Like the way that I see community contribution in Winterbloom stuff is people like interacting with each other and sharing their music and their patch notes, basically. And helping other people discover interesting new things that they can do with the stuff that we've made. But probably the coolest thing that I've seen is the amount of hacking that happened around our product called Big Honking Button, which is exactly what it says it is, right? It's a module that is an arcade button, and when you press the button, it honks at you. It runs CircuitPython, so you can actually change what it does. But people loved this thing. But so many people did so many cool hacks with it. Like someone made an even bigger big honking button because there's another like synthesizer format that's bigger. So they made a bigger one to go into that format. Someone made a smaller one. People made ones that like glow and do all kinds of other stuff. And like seeing people share the really interesting stuff that they've done there is amazing. And the other thing that just it blows my mind is that on our Discord, seeing people come in and learn how we've made stuff, and then they go and make their own stuff, and then I see it on Instagram, and then they share it in the server, and it's like, whoa, you were here like 6 months ago, just chatting people up and asking about this stuff and this stuff, and now you've made your own thing, and that is the ultimate gift to me. That is the whole reason I do this, is so that people can make their own stuff. And it delights me so much when people are like, oh yeah, I stole this from your design. I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted. I made it open source specifically so you can steal things from me. Like, yay.
That's the best feeling of like, oh, hey, there's a thing there and I didn't make that thing? That's the coolest.
Right. Yeah, because ultimately, like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life manufacturing synthesizer modules. In fact, I don't want to do that most of the time anyway. Like my goal here was to build a community that could, in a lot of ways, sustain itself. And like, it's very interesting to see the ways that it's done that. And like, that's why I'm not mad that someone made an exact copy of our module with a different faceplate. I wanted them to do that. They're in Europe. It's really hard for me to ship to Europe. It's expensive, and there's taxes, and there's all kinds of silly stuff, right? So if they go and make it themselves, that's great. That's a thing I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about making it and then shipping it across the seas and then waiting for it to get lost in customs and then them emailing me and me having to email 7 different postal services to figure out what happened. I don't have to worry about that. They build it themselves. Yay.
I think it was Oscar Wilde that said the only thing worse than having your stuff stolen is not having your stuff stolen.
Yeah, exactly. And I planned from the beginning to have my stuff stolen. I wanted it to be stolen.
So if people want to get on the Discord to start stealing your stuff, can they find that at thea.codes?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's not on there, it's on the Winterbloom site, which is winterbloom.com, which I had to buy from a Christian rock band. Fun fact. They weren't using it anymore. They disbanded, but they still had the domain.
Wow, how lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny because I'm like, oh god, I would have to pay like so much money for this, and like I hired a domain broker to do it, which is a thing you can do. Oh. And they were like, how much are you willing to pay for it? I'm like, I don't know, $5,000. And they were like, okay. And he comes back to me like 3 days later. He's like, I found the owner. They're willing to give it to you. They wanted to know what you're going to use it for. And I was like, I make synthesizers. Like, what are they I'm sure whatever I tell them, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's a business, let's make them pay more money. No, they were like, oh, we're musicians, so if you're gonna make synthesizers using this domain name, like, go at it. So they gave it to me for like the rest of the registration fees. So I got it for like $30. And I'm like, I would have paid so much more money, guys. Yeah. Come on.
That's amazing.
Module or something at least.
What was that?
I said you should have sent them a free module. Maybe they could have got the band back together and it was some better gear.
I mean, look, if they're out there somewhere, hit me up.
Yeah, if Winterbloom, the Christian rock band, is watching.
Yep. We'll send you one.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Andy, I gotta know if the light that I'm seeing periodically flashing has anything to do with this moth box.
I think it does, along with the black light that I turned off because it was getting kind of annoying for my eyes. But yeah, hey, I'm Andy. I want to talk to y'all about some bugs and how we can use some robots to check out some bugs and stuff like that. So this is the Moth box. As you can see, this is the janky one that I build and test things on. The other ones are out in Western Panama right now. So this one even has test bugs on it that are like glued to the screens. There's like a big bug, there's like a small bug, and a fake bug that's shiny, and then a feather, and then like a calibration thing.
Are those real bugs or all fake bugs?
I mean, like, they used to be alive at one point.
Oh, okay.
And then I found them somewhere.
Okay, so they're specimens.
Oh my goodness.
They're specimens, collection.
Yeah, they transcended bugdom to specimen.
Yeah. So what this thing is for is biodiversity surveys. So there's this cool thing where scientists will, this is like a traditional kind of thing. You want to see how many like cool nocturnal flying bugs there are. And, you know, because people are used to like, oh, you only have a big bright light in the summer, all the bugs kind of swarm around it, right? They do that because they usually use the moon to orient on, and now suddenly the moon is really close to them, and it throws off their orientation, and they kind of spiral around, get confused, and then we give them a little resting pad to hang out on. But like since probably like the 50s, 60s, there's been a way that scientists like try to see what's the insect life like in a certain area by just hanging up a big white sheet, and they get a really big, powerful, bright light. Usually like a big mercury vapor lamp, you know, the kind of things like if you're like growing certain plants in your basement, and you have a bunch of, you know, aluminum foil around, and you don't want the cops to know, like you have to carry those big things out into like the jungle, and they were fragile, they would break, and it sucked. But then even if you get the really big bright light, you have this big sheet, and then you just hang out next to this sheet for the whole night, and you take photos of every little bug that comes by, and later you go, okay, here's all the bugs that was here. And
then you have to drag all of your lights back to your grow operation. It's very tedious.
So we wanted to kind of automate this, and I have a friend who's working at a big reforestation project in Western Panama. And they're putting in all kinds of, there's a big, huge chunk of Western Panama that in World War II, the U.S. came to Panama, and we did all kinds of colonization and stuff. And there's a bunch of troops there, and they're like, we want hamburgers. Y'all need to cut down this rainforest and grow cows. And so that's what happened. Now there's a bunch of cow farms, and the soil's depleted, and you can't use the cow farms at all. And so anyway, now a bunch of the farmers are wanting to reforest it and do other cool things with the land. And they're working with these cool nonprofits that are reforesting things. But there's scientists who want to know, like, hey, how is this actually working? What kind of plants are good for the biodiversity? And so one of the things they want to do is monitor what kind of insects are in areas that have been deforested, areas that have never been deforested, areas that are currently like farms, and, you know, be able to actually get some data on the differences between them. And there's only one guy kind of doing it. And so he wants help via robots. So we have about 12 of these out with him right now. And he goes in backpacks to these really remote parts of this area. And he leaves them there for about a month. And then, so the way that it works is there's a black light or some kind of bright, usually UV-ish light that turns on. Okay, actually, so we'll dig into this guy, right? So there is a bunch of weird stuff in here, but mostly there's a Raspberry Pi 4 hooked up to a Pi Juice that's then hooked up to a relay board. And so the Raspberry Pi, you know, little tiny computer, you tell it to do stuff, right? The Pi Juice is a really handy thing if you haven't used them before. It lets you turn everything off completely. And it's got a little built-in battery, so you can use it like a UPS for your Raspberry Pi, use it to have, like, in case your main power goes out. But what we use it for is it can actually shut everything down and go into like ultra sleep mode and just hang out for like 6 months, a year or something on its little built-in battery. And then it can tell it to wake up at a certain schedule. So like if there's a new moon and it's a Tuesday, we want to see how many moths are out visiting this area of the Azuero Peninsula or whatever. So then this thing we program, it turns itself on, turns on, uses most of the energy, goes this big bright light to lure in bugs. And then every now and then, we have it set maybe every minute or something, it turns on some bright lights and takes a photo of the screen that the bugs land on. The other thing that we have here, the relay board, that's basically to connect to these high power lights, the USB lights. We can put 5 volts out, we can put 12 volts out. We have a little buck converter inside there, regulator to give us really nice high power 5 volts. And yeah, and everything was built to be used by also like field assistants that they can repair, fix things, switch things around. We just use little Wago connectors, or what's the non-branded lever nuts. So those I just learned about recently. They're great. Well, okay, exactly. So when you take everything out, luckily it's not broken. You can just connect back your little lever nuts. When I teach electronics, I decided I don't even use breadboards anymore. I just use little lever nuts because they're strong and you can pop things in and out. It's super great. There's my lever nut.
Yeah, this is all just an infomercial for lever nuts.
I'm on board. I'm on the lever nut train. Those things are amazing.
We lost our big diode sponsorship. Thanks.
Yeah. Big diode is out. Now it's big lever nut.
But this is good. I meant to take it out anyway, so you can just kind of see the stack of things we got going on. There's a big old battery. There's everything kind of hooked together. These are the brightest, cheapest lights that we could find. And they're microscope ring lights you can get for about $20. We yank out everything from there. We get a little PCB. I hot glue their potentiometers to the right, and I just freaking lever nut that guy right on there. So it turns them on to just nice, kind of like even lighting across that back thing. Everything about this device is made from like off-the-shelf components. You don't have to solder anything. Again, this was made for like field repairability, and also just trying to help it so that other people can reproduce it really easily. There's another like science group that's been doing some like automated Moth stuff like this, but the problem with their thing is about the size of my desk, and it costs 7,000 British pounds. So our thing costs $400, and a lot of that is just like a big honking battery. It's about a quarter of that, and you can carry it around. You can carry several of them around. So that was kind of our cool goal. There's the Moth box. We have these deployed out in Western Panama right now, and we aren't allowed to say if we got a bunch of cool funding to keep working on this for the next year, but hopefully we'll be able to announce if we did. Catch my drift. So that's the cool thing about that. I'm on the Oshawa board, and previously I was on the GOSH, Gathering Open Science Hardware Community Council, and so we document the building of all this open source science equipment on the GOSH forums. I can post the link there. It's super nice and great. And a cool thing came from us building this project in the open on the forums. There was a LED manufacturer, tinker person named Moritz, who runs a group called Lab. And this is the next thing I want to show you. And they were like, hey, this seems really cool. How can I help with the Moth box? And I was like, okay, well, right now we're just getting these are like $6 LED bars from eBay. But what the professionals use in the field and the science is they use a thing called usually a Leppy lead. And it's this really well-made, beautiful piece of like, some PCBs and some LEDs that are really super bright, and it's super waterproof and stuff like that, but it costs like $600. And so a lot of scientists were like, oh, I can't afford that. And so I talked to this guy. I'm like, hey, if you can make like an open source, like cheap LepiLED kind of thing, just a really bright thing that can have very specific frequencies of light that it emits, then go for it. And he's like, okay, cool, easy. In a month, he like sends me a kit of these PCBs that are really well designed. They screw on to a big metal shaft that ends at the end that works as a heat sink. And hold on, I got to put on my safety glasses because this thing's bright as hell. And a lot of UV ranges. So it's really bright, and it ranges from about 350 to about 550 nanometers. Because apparently scientists don't really know exactly which frequency is best. But we're going to run an experiment with the Moth box. The device is actually the tool for figuring out how to make the device better, which is a cool, fun thing to do in science. And so, yeah, so this guy, you just like hang up outside. It can be a standalone bug detector, but it's only about $60. And it's really super, super duper bright. And it just runs off, this is just off a USB right there. But he designed it, Moritz at LabLab really developed this well. And you can hook up a wide variety depending on, where you're in the field site, what you have available. And so it can take 5 volts, it can take up to 18 volts. And one of the things I really enjoyed is I was like, oh, what's a good way to get 18 volts? Because he's like, we do that, it'll be the brightest it can be. And past that, it can go up to like 25 volts, but it'll just like bucket down. And he's like, so 18 volts would be great. And I'm like, okay, well, I have all these power tool batteries that are 18 volts. And I don't know if y'all have run across these, but there's a community of Power Wheels hackers where if you go online and you want an 18 volt adapter, the way to get it is these people sell things where you can go and exchange the crappy battery in your child's power toy or Power Wheels, like fake tiny car, and instead put in your power tool batteries and they go faster and stuff like that. And so you can get these for like $5 online, and then you can hook in your thing, and it's really super bright and a bunch of weird spectrums I can't totally see, and the camera gets confused about. But you can just use power tool batteries. There's even
That's awesome.
The Ryobi one even has a little switch. So yeah, they got them for all kinds of things. It's a fun finding.
That's
so we
awesome.
started calling these the Moth Beam. They're like a moonbeam, but
Yeah.
there we go. And it's been a super successful thing. We got scientists trying to use those just for other things, just in general, the way they would use these other, just the way they do their normal light trapping of different insects.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
What's
their Moth box?
What's the camera that you're using in the Moth box?
Excellent question. It is an Arducam 64 megapixel Hawkeye camera because we needed as many pixels as we could get on these boards, because some of these moths are only about like a millimeter in size. They're really tiny. Disclaimer, I'm probably one of the tech supports for the Arducam 64 megapixel camera because Arducam hasn't been really keeping up with the drivers on there. So I have the walkthrough if you want to see how to actually use it on Raspberry Pi Bookworm right now as of March 1st. I have a walkthrough on their forum, and that is the only way I know how to actually make this work. They don't have very good documentation.
I think I know the reason for that, because I actually met them at Maker Faire Shenzhen, and they are like all in on like agricultural stuff, and they're like not really focused on makers so much anymore, or that they do have a new product coming out that is going to be focused on makers, but they've been really doing this agricultural stuff and not really individual maker stuff so much recently.
So in a project that I'm working with that I cannot disclose, we are switching from another camera vendor probably to Arducam, because the cameras that we were originally using, trust me, whatever bugs you ran into with that Arducam are nothing compared to the absolute madness that plagued me with these cameras. This camera will send an invalid frame 90% of the time. No matter what you do, it's going to send you a bad MJPEG frame 90%
That
of
sounds
the time.
very pessimistic. What about the 10% of the time it doesn't?
10% of the time, it's fine. It's
Good
fine.
frames.
Dude, I had to break out Wireshark and the USB analyzer to prove to them that it was messed up, okay? And what's happening is that it has an MJPEG encoder on the camera, and the settings that they've used for that are messed up so that it cannot complete the encoding of an MJPEG frame before it captures the next one.
Oh, no.
It's so funny.
Articam stuff is great. I'd highly recommend them. I really enjoyed all their products.
But yeah,
it's a good piece of hardware. It's just been tricky with especially the updates of different Raspberry Pi OSs and stuff like that. The firmwares have been all donked up. But now, if you get a Raspberry Pi 5, it overcomes a lot of the problems where you have to do some trickery because the Articam 64 megapixel is basically the limit of what a Raspberry Pi 4 can do with its CMA RAM stuff. And so instead, if you get a Raspberry Pi 5, it not only has about like twice the performance, you can take a photo in about half the time, but you can also put 2 of these Articam 64 megapixel cameras on there. And yeah, we tested it, it actually works. So you can have dual cameras natively. So a next Moth box might have, I want it to do stereo Moth vision, but the scientists are like, we just want to do Moth. So I'm like, oh, okay, I want to see 3D coming at you.
And do you guys just logging and collecting the data, or does it have some way of transmitting it to somewhere else?
Yeah, so no, it's low tech right now. I made what I feel is a very handy script for anyone doing stuff with Raspberry Pis. I'm sure a million people have like made this for themselves before, but I could never find something where if I just take any kind of external USB thing and put it in there, it will look where it stores all the folders, and it will find those photos and it'll back them up onto whatever external thing. I put in a different external thing. It'll find whichever external thing is the biggest and back it up there. And then it'll just keep filling it up. And then if it actually runs out of internal storage, it will make sure everything's copied, then delete it. So I found this to be a very handy little script that I'm sure, again, like I said, a million people have probably redone this. But if you don't want to have to redo it, go and steal my script. It's on the Mothbox GitHub. It's all posted on the forum on the Gathering for Open Science Hardware, forum.openhardware.science is the URL.
We'll get all this in the show notes for sure.
Beautiful.
Can we go back to plugging Lab? What's the deal?
Yeah.
What can people buy this cool, crazy light? Is that possible?
They totally can. And what's cool is it's all these. It just comes as all of these little PCBs. And the PCBs, I don't know what these are called, but they're great because you just pop a wire in there and it's like a one-way. Wire goes in, then it's like it's stuck in there. And so wiring these things up is just a dream. You just get a bunch of jumper cables and boop, 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 boop. And you can just run it with one. I can hook up, the Makita battery to one. It's like, oh, I got this bright, cool thing. Or I can hook up like 10. And it's fine. He designed it really well. They also all have, so they're very modular, and they have a dimmer lead. And so if you hook that into like a PWM, like an Arduino or your Raspberry, whatever, you can control its brightness. And so you can actually you're like, oh, I'm hanging this thing up, but my Makita battery only lasts 8 hours. I want this thing to last 3 times longer. Boom. You just you can dim it and it'll put out less light, but for longer amounts of time. So that's super useful. And then, yeah, they're really cool. Lab, I think it's lablab.eu. And there's a guy named Moritz there, and he's just the nicest person. And you just email him and be like, hey, I saw the Moth beam. I want some moth beams. And me and him are still actively developing it. I'm sending him like, hey, we should use square metal instead of the triangle metal because our buddies and artists in residence, Hillary Predko, was just here with Damon, and they were trying to drill and make some of these moth beams. And it turns out putting a triangle in a vise to drill some holes, difficult. Yeah, and we're like, oh, a square would work. The triangle looks really cool, but I think we're just going to go with squares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple questions from the comments, Andy. Do you have a favorite moth? And do you have any funny stories about biological bugs and engineering bugs causing misunderstandings?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So my favorite moth, I don't know. I can't remember what it's called right now. But it's got these fun swirly doodads coming off its like butt wings. And they're cool because they like distract like bats and other things that want to eat them. And they can also like mess with radar. And there's another moth that are not radar, they're ultrasonic.
I was like, you're just gonna skate right past. They can mess with radar.
I'm sorry. But there's another moth. Mostly I know moths in relation to bats. There's another moth that does ultrasonic clicking. It can make these sounds that jam the bat's ultrasound.
Oh, cool.
They're like invisible to the bat, which is super rad. There's one moth that does it like through like a vocalization. There's another moth that can't do it vocally. So the one moth that can vocalize it, it hears the bats, and then it's like, oh, I'm jamming that shit. I know I'm getting picked up. And so it starts sending like jamming beacons. But another moth just goes around just thrashing the ultrasonic frequency band. And so its wings have some sort of special thing, like when it moves, or I think maybe it's in its abdomen, and when it moves, it just like makes static noise, and like bats are like, oh, I can't see this zone right here. So they're pretty cool.
These moths to Thea, and Thea could like integrate them into a module to generate sound.
Oh my
from
god,
the
yes.
moth zone.
Totally.
The next room is
Okay.
a box of moths.
So fun fact, I love moths and butterflies. My sister is terrified of them. It's so funny because there's a butterfly room in the Tennessee Aquarium, which is one of our favorite places to go. And every time we go, she won't go in there with me. She's like, no. But I love moths. We have, here in Georgia, we have giant leopard moths, which are huge. They're very big. And it's so funny because when they come out and they start messing around, they'll come and like fly at the windows where my cats hang out, where their cat tree is, and my cats will just be completely confused. They have no idea what to do about a creature that's like this big, just like staring at them out the window. It's so funny.
I googled swirly doodad buttwing moth, and I actually found something called the Creatonotus gangus moth, which has
Do you want to share
hair
it?
pencils on its butt, and it I think it's the one.
I want to see it.
Share your screen. Let's have a look at this guy.
I don't know how to share my screen on this tool, but just search for Creatonotus gangus.
I'll let you know. So one thing I wanted to say is I'm going to toss out another plug here. I just finished I was just writing an application to PIF Camp, which is a nerdy Slovenian cool hacker camp that's super great. Their applications just opened up, and it's like 50% like synth nerds. The folks from Bastl, B-A-S-T-L, I'm guessing Thea knows about them. Yeah, they're like always showing up. And what's great is like there's like half synth nerds, half just like other weirdos building stuff, and you're in this beautiful alpine area, and like you can build whatever you want. And then the synth nerds go like, I'll make it like make cool sounds for you. So my application to PIF Camp this year is I want Moth synth. So I want to turn like live, like Moth, attracting into like a cool synthesizer that's going on with that as well. And maybe doing some cool, like generating some kind of visual art that goes with it too. So if you're into anything like that, definitely check out pif.camp.
Please tell me how that works out, because I've seen people do like plug plants up to synthesizers with like some stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I want to see you make synthesizer noises with mobs. That sounds amazing.
Mobs are the new
Please.
plants.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Also, yeah, like you go to Europe, all the nerds in Europe are into synthesizers. Like they love synthesizers over there.
I learned to appreciate noise music at the last PIF camp that I went to. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen people like, they're like, oh no, it's noise music. I didn't break that. I'm like, all right, or whatever. But then I like went and like some people like, I'm gonna do this like noise session. I'm like halfway ready to roll my eyes, and then it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then lasers came in, and blasting on the mountains. It was really good experience.
It's like how Scandinavian countries love metal music. It's European countries love synthesizers.
Cool.
I've already fully visualized this like synth module that like is just like a glass box with a single Moth and one cable plugged into it. I'm really here for it.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe put like the standard racks. That'd be so awesome. Yeah. You start off with a pupa in there too, and like you get the whole like closing, flying around. Excellent.
They have
it really
to release
changes over time.
They have to release the Moth after every show. Like it has to happen. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go.
That's right.
Yeah,
Interesting fact I just learned about some moths and butterflies. When they pupate, some of them are reborn after they pupate, no mouths. So they're like done eating for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna get some mates. And then I'm gonna die.
Yeah, they ate dinner. Now they ate dinner. Now it's time for fun times, right? Like that's they're good. They got all they need.
Yeah. You gotta admire the dedication.
Yeah.
Atomic 14 is just joining and wondering what they missed. Can we just do a recap of the entire show? What we did in the past hour and a half?
Swirly butt mobs. That's what you missed.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the entire thing.
We took on Big Diode. We generated a Moth synth concept.
We enumerated some of my crimes, and I thought of new ones, so that's important.
A lot of crimes happening. There was that whole like SWAT team thing with the flippers in Canada.
Lee stole a car.
Yeah, Lee stole a car.
We discussed the most dangerous ways to store batteries.
Yeah.
Did I accidentally click on Mothcast? Yeah, you did. This is now Mothcast. All mobs, all the time. Same Moth channel, same Moth time.
All right. Any last questions for Andy? I have a kind of a weird question. I don't think I thought about it as you were talking, and I think that I already know the answer. But the acrylic that you're using is like this fluorescent acrylic, and it's kind of hard to tell exactly how bright everything is over the camera. But like, do the moths get distracted? Because I get distracted by the cool green acrylic. Do the moths get distracted by that, or is that not a factor at all?
It's pretty cool. So this is the funky one that I build and tinker with here, and so this one's actually made from a protest sign. We were protesting the giant gold mine. They were going to destroy the biological corridor of the North and South America. But 90% of Panama rose up and fought this thing, and we won. It's super wild. But so this is a protest sign, and then I cut it to make the frame for this. Oh yeah, you can see there's another part. It says something about probably biodiversity.
You're telling me that Panama was opposed to giant construction projects that would destroy biodiversity?
Yeah. and the giant construction company was very confused as to why. Obliterating an area 3 times the size of Manhattan in the middle of the rainforest they were like, but we'll give you $68 million.
Yeah, no. Panama was like, not it out. We've already gotten fooled before. Not again. No more.
That's pretty much what it was like. There's a giant terraforming project here, and not much of that money is making it past like the corruption, filters. And so the population's like, screw this. We love nature. It was amazing. We protested for like over a month straight. It was an incredible thing. But the thing does fluoresce, and I think it just helps draw actually more attention to this area. So I opted for the fluorescent ones to make it more like your cool moth wave vibes, and as well
Moth wave. Did you say moth wave? That's it.
I stole that straight from the
moth wave
comments.
that's been happening in the
Someone
comments.
else mentioned rad moth wave vibes. So shout out to them.
Oh, new genre just dropped.
Yeah.
I'm emailing Dead Mouse tonight. We're getting moth wave on the map.
You got to make sure one key factor of moth wave is you have to make sure there's a part of the frequency spectrum that just jams bat signals.
Exactly.
Into it, bats can't come anywhere near you.
Yeah, the description is anti-bat
Yeah.
music.
It's non-exclusive community, but no bats.
No bats. Not one bat.
Careful, we don't want it to affect goths, though, so make sure it's
Yeah. No, vampires are fine as long as they remain in human form. They cannot transform into bats. That would be unacceptable.
Hearing changes in human form. It's cool. It's cool.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, one other quick thing I should note about the manufacture of this. We actually went out of our way to make sure there's no 3D printed components. Everything's laser cutterable. And the reason for this is that if we have like a laser cut, flat packing files for this, even if we don't have a laser cutter available, we can like print, trace, and freaking jigsaw the right parts out and stuff like that, which we can't necessarily do if we're out in the forest 6 hours away from things. And like I brought many 3D printers out to rainforests, but not everybody has. So I wanted to make sure we could do multiple styles of designing with this. Yeah.
Okay, but can we start working on a 3D printer that can survive the rainforest together? Because that sounds really fun.
Oh, totally.
We'll call it the Moth.
Michael Candy. Michael Candy is an awesome robot artist. He's to many Dynacons, which is a fun conference that we run, which might be in a cool place that we're learning about where it's going to be, but we'll drop that info later. But he like took apart some Pruses and made them compactable and foldable, and then carries them in a little suitcase, and he just pops that thing up, and he's printing in rainforests all over. It's great.
Awesome.
You can 3D print underwater now, I understand, so it should be no problem.
There's like a whole genre of like synth YouTubers that take their little synthesizers out into like scenic locations and like record like a little ambient thing. It's really cool. I want to do that with 3D printing. Just soak in the ambiance of this waterfall in a jungle while I 3D print a Pikachu. Like that's what I want.
It could be the new like travel blog, like 3D printing in all these different places.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna start it by 3D printing in a Waffle House until I get kicked out.
I love it.
Amazing. Okay, so I thought something that could be fun just to like cap it all off because you guys are all amazing. I love seeing people's studios. So I love seeing where people work. If y'all want to share your workshops, I think that'd be awesome. Like no pressure, but like it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I was slightly ready for this question.
Yes.
So I can very quickly show you. So my workshop is going to be very messy. Ignore it. But yeah, this is the desk. The desk is kind of clean, but I made this table, which I'm very happy about. You know that I made it because my name is on it.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, this is the soldering, and then the thing that made this workshop super great is that the space came with built-in shelves. So I've got everything. It looks neat, but only because there's a door in front of it. So it's the illusion of neatness. It's great. Some neon signs, all of the little project display, more shelves, 3D printer over there, and then another desk. and I'm gonna whip you around real fast. So close your eyes if you're motion sick. Whoop. The thing that I want to point out is that this entire workshop used to fit in those 2 cabinets, and now it's in this room. And then I have a laser cutter and a vinyl cutter back there. So yeah, that's the space. It is super fun.
Amazing. I love those cabinets. I feel like I'm in science class. Like, I don't know. That's the vibe they have.
Chemistry class, yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I definitely love just like being able to see everything. I don't want to hide my stuff because then I forget about it if I don't see them. So I love seeing everything out in the open.
Yeah.
I agree.
Totally.
Did we lose Thea?
What?
I think she's just not on camera. Maybe she'll pop back up. Who knows? Andy, you want to share your workspace?
Totally. Okay, there's going to be parts where the internet probably drops out, weird stuff happens, but this is one of the areas up here. This is like our art science gallery. About 4 years ago, Lee was hanging out right here with a bunch of tadpoles and like some computer vision things. So that was cool. But this is just kind of like weird open space. There's a lot of fun agouti artworks. These are agoutis. There's probably going to be something back. This is just, modular. Is like a standard thing for trying to organize stuff. This is like a fun place we do like documentaries and have people over for craft nights. This is a rainforest and cool jungly stuff out there. Let's see if I can downstairs. Down a weird spiral.
Oh my gosh.
So we're basically near the old Panama Canal. Kitty, do you want to say it? There's Kitty. There's a Nyeke out there, little agouti creatures, and they're really cute. And our friends just made a bus stop for them.
Gotta have that.
Here's our plastic upcycling zone. Basically a panini press and a big plastic surgery. That's where we poop a bunch of plastic on some batteries and stuff like that. And then drop it off.
As it gets farther away from the house.
Come on, Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh, can you see me again?
Coming back.
I should be Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, you're back.
No,
You're
we're
back.
good, we're good. It was just
Okay,
a little choppy,
great.
but it's great.
Cool.
But it was
There's like
cool.
another crafting zone, textile stuff over there. We have like electronics zone and like documentation equipment. So that's a fun zone. And then our main other like building stuff lab is kind of a Faraday cage. So I'm just gonna peek in a little bit. It's a big bunker, but that's where we have a bunch of tools. There's a laser cutter, and then more electronics, workspace, and stuff like that. Another baking rack for moving, like when you're making 10 moth boxes at once, we can move them from one lab to another real easy. And then those doors just open out to other areas. Oh, one more place.
Lee, can we let Thea back in?
Back here?
I said, Lee, can we let Thea back in?
Oh, right.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
we're all here.
Oh, and this is Terry the Shredder, Terry La Trituradora, and it shreds up all the old waste from the scientists here. But I think I just lost internet.
You're good.
No, we're here. We're here with
That's
you.
that.
Yeah, we're here.
You may have seen a shredder, plastic shredder in there. Yeah, but the internet probably died. And then another room for melting and bending plastic and storing it. Yeah, done.
Andy, I always picture you like living in a tree. I'm really impressed. Like I thought it
There's
could be
so
like
much there.
It's more house
There's
than
so
a
much.
tree house, unfortunately.
So, Andy, what is this place for people who might not know what's going on? Oh, maybe we finally lost him.
Come back.
I can't believe we
now
lose him
Wi-Fi's not
now
working.
at
All
the
that?
end, right?
That's a great Frozen frame.
Yeah.
It really is. It
It
really
really
is.
conveys the joy of the.
Well, maybe I'll plug Andy and Dynalab for him. Dynalab
There we
is
go.
really cool. It's a place where they host a lot of. Oh, thank God, Andy could do it. Okay, you're back. Dynalab for yourself.
Nice. What's up?
I was just telling people what Dynalab is. They might not know.
Yeah, Dynalab is our digital naturalism laboratories, and we basically set up here. We're nearby, like the Smithsonian has one of the world's oldest like Western science field stations out here, and there's field biologists come from all over the world, and we're here to be kind of this like local group to help field biologists like have more agency over their own tools. And so we build tools for scientists that are open source and show them how to build them and replicate it and hack stuff themselves. And we also do a lot of community events and organize different local workshops, as well as international big unconferences like Dynacon, the Digital Naturalism Conference, which also might be in a cool place. We might be able to announce sometime, hopefully soonish, but we'll find out. Yeah.
So many news to look forward to.
Amazing. Cool. Thea, do you want to give us a little tour? Is that possible?
Yeah. That's why I actually disappeared for a second, because I switched stuff, and now it was mad at me, so it kicked me out. But I can show you all stuff now. So I'm currently in my studio / office, and this is essentially our music room. So we've got guitars and amplifiers, and then there's my main guitar right there.
Oh, that one's cool.
And my main amplifier. Yeah, it's very custom with lots of laser cutting and 3D printing involved. So, but yeah, we've got a whole bunch of audio equipment over here, and then we got my desk right here, and a very, very important picture of Canadian treasure Carly Rae Jepsen. I'm sure Lee knows who Carly Rae Jepsen is. Another Canadian treasure is Lee. So, so leaving my little studio, we can go into the actual workshop. So this is where I do everything. So this desk behind me right here is Maggie's desk. And this is where we do all of our shipping and all that jazz. That's why there's a bunch of shipping boxes at the top and things like that. We have a big metal shelf over here that's filled with components and all kinds of crazy stuff. We have a Lumen PNP right here that's currently not being used to assemble circuit boards. It's a pick and place machine, but I'm working on some software for it, so it's doing its own thing right now. And then moving over here, we have the printing corner with the big Voron printer. This is a big old Voron 2.4 that I built. It's called Blaze after the Sonic character. That's why it's got Blaze on it. Every machine in the house that connects to a network has a name based on a Sonic character. So we have Tails, Knuckles, Sonic, Amy, all kinds of different ones. That's
a great theme.
Here's the center desk here that's usually clean so we can have a space to work, and it's got a fireplace and a nice Sega Genesis technical drawing up there. And then over here is actually the 3D printing corner. The Voron doesn't live over here because it's too big, but yeah, there's all of our filament and some props and stuff that we've made, and things like that. And yeah, a little Prusa Mini over here that seems quaint compared to the Voron 2.4. And then here is the main area here, which is my workbench, which has all of the stuff that I need to build and assemble and test and all of that stuff, all the things that I do.
I love the painted status.
Oh yeah, that was like the first thing I installed. But yeah, here's like all of my soldering and desoldering stuff, all that stuff, and then over here is more like test and assembly stuff in the middle, and then if I move all of these useless boxes out of the way, This is the test jig that I was talking about with the motherboard, and then this is like the little interchangeable piece that goes on top that actually adapts it so that each product can fit inside of it, which is really cool. And then yeah, you just pull the lever down to engage. It's really cool stuff. And like we use laser cutting and 3D printing to make all of them. So like here's another lens that's laser cut, and this one's kind of broken because I dropped it. And then this one's a 3D printed one, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and then yeah, test equipment, and we even have a fancy like 6.5-digit multimeter hiding underneath the desk there that we use for all kinds of cool stuff. And yeah, that's mostly it. We have a closet filled with colorful milk crates and lots of cables. If I die, my next of kin inherits like 300 USB cables. So
Spicy pillows.
that's not an exaggeration. Oh, the spicy pillows. Let's go find the spicy pillows. You want to see the spicy?
Yes,
I got
want to
spicy
see the
pillows,
spicy
my friends. Okay, look. Ow. Okay, I stepped on something. Okay,
If you're
so
an
here's,
insurance company, please stop watching at this time.
so here's my books, and here's like the really important one, right? The safety data sheets.
That's right.
But if you look over here, you'll notice something that isn't on the safety data sheet.
Yeah,
These
just
little
next to the
cardboard
safety
boxes,
data sheets.
which are filled with lithium batteries. Okay, filled with them. Also, this will be cool to some of y'all. I'm working on restoring a vintage synthesizer. So this is a vintage ARP 2600 next to the fire extinguisher here for obvious reasons. And yeah, look at those hand-drawn circuit boards. It's really quite beautiful.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yes, it's from the 70s. It's just really wild. It's crazy to work on a synthesizer that's twice as old as I am.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is,
So yeah, that's my workshop.
that's amazing. Is
and
the fire
then-
extinguisher necessary to be right next to the vintage synth?
Yeah.
Well, if anything catches on fire, like it's just actually closest to the things that get hot, which includes the 3D printers and the soldering irons.
Makes sense.
And yeah, so my sister, she's a seamstress and a costume designer. So this is her little workspace here, and it's always very messy.
Whoa.
So yeah, unfortunately, I gave her the room right by the staircase. So every time I come down, it's always so messy. I'm like, oh, I should have given her a different room, but it's all good. It's all good. I love her, and I wouldn't trade her for the world. So yeah, that's my sense.
Thank you so much. I loved seeing everyone's spaces and projects. This was so much fun. We are coming up on 2 hours of our lovely chat. Are there any last minute burning questions for any of our guests? I think we lost Andy, but maybe he'll be back.
Andy had to run to bat night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bad night.
Of course.
Wow.
Well, I feel bad after all that like
Right.
anti-bat talk. I don't know.
Yeah, seriously. He's gonna bring Mothbox to bat night? What?
Oh, maybe it's sabotage. Yeah, maybe he's gone. Yeah.
Double agent.
He's working for the bats.
Yeah.
We figured him out.
Fun.
Big bats.
There was a fun comment actually before he took off in terms of physical bugs. Recently, we had leafcutter ants slice through an Ethernet cable.
Oh my
It's a pretty good
god.
one.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's
Really?
possible?
Apparently.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I
I mean,
have
like,
a
it's
cat.
not cool, but it's cool.
So I'm lucky that my cats don't like to chew on cables, but one of my cats loves to eat tape. So like I can't leave any kind of tape around, or she will just eat it. And it's so weird. I'm like, stop eating tape. And like if you like leave an open box somewhere and it's got like a little sliver of tape thinking of, she'll just lick it. And it's like, stop.
That's so bizarre.
Queen will do what she wants.
She will do what she wants. Indeed. She is a minute.
Well, yeah, if there's no more questions from the comments, we will call it a day here. Thank you guys so much. This was really lovely to see what you guys were working on and also to hang out. And
Yeah,
yeah,
this was
thank you
wonderful.
to everyone who joined online as well.
Thanks so much for having us. This was so
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks for being wonderful hosts. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.